It was sometime after midnight in the small desert town of Brawley, California, when the call came in.
911 emergency.
Oh my God! Something's wrong with my husband. I think he's been shot.
He's been shot?
Yes!
Okay, who shot him, ma'am?
I don't know. Robert!
Not long before that frantic call on what was to be one very bad Friday the 13th, Bud Roberts and his wife Sue head to their bedroom and go to sleep. Tragically, Bud will never wake up.
I want to say between 1 and 2 in the morning, and it was a phone call from a buddy of mine saying, "Brian, your dad's been shot."
Bud is airlifted to the UCSD Medical Center Trauma Unit in nearby San Diego.
He was non-responsive. He'd had a gunshot up above his left eye. His pupils were very dilated, and they told us it didn't look very good.
Bud Roberts is shot, but why and by whom? The 56-year-old was the manager of a local bank, avid hunter, and former bull rider, beloved by his neighbors and friends.
He was a very upstanding individual. He was honest as the day is long. You just couldn't get a nicer, sweeter guy than Bud.
But after his first marriage ended, Bud's family claims trouble came knocking, or rather, rang his doorbell. It was an old flame looking to rekindle a romance. Her name, Sue Velarde.
Sue showed up, I guess heard that they were getting a divorce for sure, and rang his doorbell. That's the story.
And did she have something?
She had a bottle of champagne and rang his doorbell, and I guess he started seeing her again.
Soon it's champagne toast to Bud and his new wife, Sue Roberts. What was their wedding like?
We didn't get to go to their wedding. None of us were invited to that.
Did you find that kind of odd?
Disappointed. You always want to be there for a family member's wedding.
The close-knit Roberts clan isn't sure what to make of Bud's standoffish bride.
I was a little surprised because she wasn't the type of person I expected with my brother. She was reserved, not real involved with the family.
But Sue fills the void of wife and mother for Bud and his two young children, Brian and Lauren. How was this new family for you?
It was different. I mean, I guess I adjusted the best I could being, a teenager.
And Sue is there for Bud during his darkest time, when his daughter Lauren dies tragically in a car accident.
It was just one of those things that we weren't expecting. She was in her senior year in college, and everything seemed to be going great, so just one of those unfortunate things.
After the death of his daughter, Bud refocuses on his job at the bank, where he's up for a huge promotion. His life appears to be back on track, but his family notices his marriage may be in trouble.
He, in the beginning, seemed happy. As time went along, he seemed stressed.
Stressed primarily about his deceased daughter's old bedroom. Friends say Sue had taken it over.
It was cluttered. It was very cluttered.
When you say cluttered, are you talking hoarding? Are you talking dirty? What are you talking? Messy?
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
All brand new. Items stacked from floor to ceiling, still in boxes with price tags attached. But where in the world is Sue, a loan officer, getting the money for all of this stuff? The answer is, she didn't pay for it. Friends say Bud's dead daughter did.
His daughter that had passed away, she embezzled her Social Security number and started charging.
Bud never filed a police report, but Jim Corbill says Bud told him Sue racked up more than $30,000 in total debt. So she had a real problem.
She had a definite problem.
Friends say it's an even bigger problem when Bud finds out. How did he react to that?
He was very upset. She finally said that I'm going to stop, and he gave her the benefit of the doubt.
Then, just a few months later,
911 emergency.
Oh my God!
What's the problem?
I don't know. Something's wrong with my husband. I think he's been shot.
He's been shot?
Yeah.
Okay, who shot him, ma'am?
I don't know. I just messed up. I just heard it.
Okay, stay on the line with me.
Robert!
but as Bud gasped for his last breaths at that San Diego hospital, his whole family gathers in his room to say their final goodbyes. And Sue, Bud's son, says she decides to take a shower first and is still hours away in Brawley.
When I got the call, I put clothes on and I went. That's all I was thinking about, was getting to the hospital. I don't understand how something like that could happen to my dad and then she have time to take a shower, and it didn't make sense.
Sue finally arrives at the hospital, and his family asks her what happened. They claim Sue first tells them it was a suicide.
She said that her husband had been depressed over the loss of his daughter and tried to commit suicide.
Next, the family claims Sue changed her story, telling them Bud was cleaning his guns in bed when the .22 pistol accidentally discharged.
Did you believe it was an accident?
No. I had just too many years growing up with him, and believe me, my father was intense about gun safety, and he always cleaned his guns right at the gun cabinet.
Then, unbelievably, the family says Sue tells them yet another version. This time, they claim she blames the shooting on an intruder.
Someone had come into the house, and Bud must have tried to protect her, and he got shot. Nothing was jiving.
One eyewitness, 3 stories, but 1 fact. The San Diego medical examiner rules Bud Roberts' cause of death, homicide. And the Brawley police report finds no signs of a break-in or intruder.
All roads lead to Susan.
All roads and receipts? While Sue has not been named a suspect, Bud's son Brian says he made a shocking discovery just hours before his dad was shot. He opens the mail and claims to find a new credit card statement. This time, he says Sue has opened a credit card under his name.
I had called my dad and said, "Dad, she's done it again." He was done with it. He wanted a divorce. He could no longer trust her.
So you tell him that. Do you recall about what time of day that was on the day of his death?
Oh, I believe it was 5:30, 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sue reportedly told police it was all a big misunderstanding. She did not open credit in his name, but ordered office supplies on the business credit card. But just 6 hours later, Bud will be shot to death.
So then who pulled the trigger? I traveled here to Brawley, California with a private investigator to try and talk to the last person who saw William Roberts alive, his wife.
The cops in Brawley, California aren't talking, claiming the death of Bud Roberts is an ongoing investigation. But Bud's family attorney, John Oman, has reviewed the Brawley police report.
We look at evidence in 2 fashions, which we refer to as direct evidence or circumstantial evidence. From the information provided to me through the Brawley Police Department, all roads lead to Susan.
And it appears those roads dead end here. This is where we find Sue's most recent address and where we hope to get her side of the story. Along for the ride is retired homicide and cold case investigator Tim Miley from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Tim has spent 20 years investigating homicide cases, and after reviewing police and medical examiners' reports, he's convinced Sue holds the answers to some key questions.
So we're going to go to Sue's house now and see if we can find her.
It'd be great if we could ask her the questions that we need to be asked.
So we want to talk to Sue because she's the only other person who was in that house when Bud was shot.
That's correct. There's only 2 people in that room, and she's the only one who's still living.
It's not hard to find Sue's home, but now we just need to find Sue.
Sue, it's Crime Watch Daily. Sue, it's Anna Garcia from Crime Watch Daily. We want to talk to you about your husband's death. You were the last one to see him alive, Sue. We're looking for you.
And we must be in the right spot. In mere minutes, we are surrounded by who we believe to be Sue's relatives.
Why are you guys videotaping? I live right here.
Oh, we're looking for Sue.
Don't film me though, Sue. Don't film me, right?
Well, I'm just answering your question.
No, okay, but don't you have to film me.
Okay,
I can let you know where she's at though, but don't film me.
Okay, I'm being cool with you, right?
So am I. Okay.
All right.
She was renting right here for my sister, like for about 5 months, and she's in Ecuador right now.
She's in Ecuador?
Yes.
Ecuador, investigator Miley has been watching Sue's house and says he knows she's in town. Then suddenly a truck pulls up out of nowhere.
No, it's my sister.
Okay.
Hey, stop filming, man. Stop filming. I'm gonna tell you where she's at. Just don't film me.
Well, how are we gonna find her in Ecuador?
Okay, look it. Okay, well, don't film me.
I want you on my property right now.
We've worn out our welcome, not that we ever had one, and dip into a nearby cafe where investigator Miley breaks down what just happened.
So why do you think everybody on the street got so mad when we showed up?
They were way too involved not to be family members. They were way too irate and too protective not to be related to Sue.
So if you were analyzing their reaction to us and our cameras, what do you think that means about them?
That they're related somehow. The ones who came out and became very aggressive. 2 cars drove up with people getting out to confront us. So obviously somebody made a phone call and brought them over to protect her.
My expectation is that, generally speaking, justice is served and that ultimately there is a prosecution and a conviction.
But until the Brawley Police Department makes an arrest or the DA decides to prosecute, the homicide case of Bud Roberts remains open and unsolved, and Sue Roberts remains a free woman. Very free.
She was divorced recently, and
Wait a minute, what do you mean divorced? After Bud died?
After Bud, yeah, she was married and she was divorced again in very similar circumstances.
What do you mean similar circumstances? He's dead?
No.
Well, it's like, what does that mean?
No. Bankruptcy.
But we wanted to hear that straight from the source. So we tracked down Sue's other ex-husband, Arnie Eaton, and in a Crime Watch Daily exclusive phone interview, he tells us about his marriage to Sue. And his story is an all too familiar one.
I sat down with Sue and said, well, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life paying off credit card bills.
He claims that just months into their marriage, he discovered she was using his credit cards to buy thousands of dollars of knickknacks.
Then she told me that, oh, well, she was sorry and didn't realize it and blah, 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 blah. And she would, curb that and everything would be okay. But that came up 2 or 3 times, and so that's when I asked her for a divorce.
Then the million-dollar question.
So what do you really think happened to Bud Roberts?
Only God and Sue Roberts knows that.
Do you regret marrying Sue?
Oh, yeah.